So I actually missed a couple little spots that I'm meaning to do, so I mixed up some fiberglass.
So I'm going to use a kind of an old school method. This is stuff that I learned years ago living in Venezuela, where if you just had the need to repair a surfboard or the sailboat or anything like that, you just kind of had to make do. One of the things you did is you cut up the fiberglass cloth to make repairs that were small, but this would actually give you a little strength in just the fiberglass that you're mixing up. And so what you did is you cut this up, then you take your fiberglass resin and put that in there and mix it up. What this does is it kind of thickens up the resin a little bit, and instead of having to cut little fiberglass sections to do a repair, the fiberglass strands are already mixed into the resin. So now we take a little bit of the catalyzer, or the hardener if you want to call it that, and we mix that to the right ratio. I'm going a little heavy because I want this to dry fast. We will go ahead and mix that up, and then I'm going to go ahead and show you something here in a minute, but we'll mix that up real quick so it gets nicely mixed in and all the fibers are mixed in, and then we'll check it for the desired consistency. Now you can see it's kind of runny, which is okay, but that's not what we want. Here's an old school trick. You take a little talcum powder. Yep, baby powder, that's it. Mix it in there, and all it's doing is just adding a little bit of volume and adding something for the fiberglass to thicken it up. So it's just a thickening agent. What this is going to do is going to allow me to work in smaller spots without it running all over the place. Now this is not quite the right consistency, so I need it to go just a little bit thicker. So let me just check it, but no, more talcum powder, and I add some of that, and let's try that. Get it nice and mixed in. The key to this thing is mix it in very well. We also have a limited amount of time to make this work, so we went ahead and did the repairs, and we'll show you now.
And this is what I did because I didn't do these earlier. So there was a little chunk missing right here on the transom, and right here. So I went ahead and fixed those, and then right here where there had been something had been dropped, so it was a weak spot right here in the decking. I filled it with that mixture of resin, fiberglass resin, and powder. So we'll let that dry, and then we'll sand that later. And then what I did with the leftovers is I did some repairs down here on the bottom of the boat. Now we're also going to go ahead, and you see how we got this little puddle? So that water right there just always puddles. So what we're going to do is we're going to drill a hole right here on the bottom of the transom. Now I'm going to put just a drain plug exactly like that one, but the reason for this drain plug is, yes, we'll be able to drain water out of here, but we're also going to drill another hole right here, and what we're going to do is we're going to take the same type of style plug that goes on there, put it here, and guess what? We're going to put a transom light on each side, so we'll have transom lights on both sides of this boat, and we can use it for fishing, hanging out at night, whatever. We got that just right. So let me show you real quick. So you can see right there, that little hole right there, I actually got it right at the bottom of the transom. So this is the lowest spot right there. So now what I have to do, drill me a hole same size as that, and I'll put the threaded plug right here, and then I put one transom light here and one transom light over there, and now I have transom lights.
In order to drill the holes for the transom light, you have to select the right drill bit. So with the threaded bung in my hand, we're going to match this to the right hole saw. So I test a couple one. This one is way too big. There's too much slop. So I want one that's going to fit just about perfect. That's our match right there. In order to prepare to drill this, we're going to mark this properly. So we take the bottom where we marked the hole already with the bottom of our hole saw bit in there. We're going to take the center pilot drill, hold it in the middle of that hole saw, and then we're going to take and just give it a little tap with the hammer. This is going to give us a little chip on the fiberglass, and that is where we're going to center our hole.
I know. So before I forget, I already did it, but if you stay on top of things and you wait this out a little bit, you don't let the fiberglass get too hard. You can take a razor blade and just shave off a little bit of this stuff when it's still gooey, and then later you'll have a lot less to sand down when you get to sanding. So this just kind of takes off some of those chunks, and then you then don't have to sand as much. It'll make your job a lot easier, and it'll make the process a lot simpler and faster to do your sanding. So this is just taking off the big chunks, and it just leaves it a little smoother. Doing the same thing down here in that little hole we filled out. We basically cut everything out, and it just leaves the rest of the fiberglass inside the holes. So we filled all the holes, we shaved off the top portion, and it's going to be just a little tiny bit of sanding. Let's see, since the fiberglass dried fast enough, it gets gooey before it gets hard. Okay, so here we go. Trying to do some cable management. These are the power leads from the battery leads coming from the center console. So those are sitting on here on this isolator. We do have the fuse that's going to go right to that hot lead to the battery, and that goes right there to the controller for the power pole. So these are the hydraulics. This is the location where we mounted them here for the power pole. I still have to bring my lines, my pressure lines that come out of here. They'll swoop out, come through, and they'll poke out the back right here to go to the power pole. And as well as right to the same hole, we will have the steering cable for the motor. So this is what we've done so far today. Mounted the bracket, mounted the pump. Still working on some more cable management, but at least this is kind of done and out of the whoopsie. This is kind of done and out of the way, and this is where we will be bringing, when the motor's up here and the power wires will come through here, the power wires from the motor will go right to these two terminals, and this is what's going to charge our house battery and our motor battery over there. Then there is also going to be, if you can see right here, this is going to be my ground wire right off of the power pole controller. There's going to be a bus bar that'll mount right here in this corner. This ground wire is going to go to that bus bar. It's going to be my ground bus. That's also going to go to, there's a wire right there, and you see that wire? That wire is going to be also grounded from the motor. That'll come straight to this bus bar right here. So any accessories that I have in here, the tank, the oil tank as it goes here, it also has to be grounded. That'll be run underneath here, and it'll come to the bus bar that's going to be right here. So we got lots to do still, but little progress every day. So I want to show you guys something. Because I am reconfiguring the way this motor is mounted. The old motor used to be directly mounted to the transom, and we are going to a bracket mounted motor so I can create more space and all that kind of stuff. We'll go over that later, but I want to show you what I'm doing to mock things up and prep it, because measuring and prepping is the key to everything. So let me show you guys something. So I got the transom mounted right where it's going to go. I got the bolts in place. I got everything on. I do have to go get some shorter bolts. These bolts are way too long. But what I've done is, because the old motor used to mount right here, reach deep, and it was the steering cable came out of this hole and went right into the motor here. Okay, look at this. We've moved this motor back, the steering cable location, probably by about 12 to 13 inches. So what I've done is I've come up with a bracket so I can mock up where everything goes. So I have a steel piece of metal, and I got magnets so that I can set this up wherever I want to set it up. So now what I've done is I've mocked up exactly by taking my measurements from the motor, knowing where my mounting hole is, knowing where the steering cable goes into. I know my distances here. By the time I get from here to here, I got 3 inches, then I got 3 7/8 right here. So I've basically mocked that up right here. So from the center of the hole to the top, I got 3 inches, and then I got then from this distance right here to here, I got 3 7/8, and that's where the cable's got to go. So I have to drill a new hole right here on the transom so I can come out with the cable and go right into the steering of the boat. So that's part of what I'm doing here, but just want to give you a heads up as to why I'm going to be drilling more holes on the boat. Now here's the other part to this entire operation is I'm adding things this boat never had. So I also have to plan out things like, I have my power pole that I never had before. So I'm going to have hydraulic lines that are coming out through here. My ideal place to drill the hole would be right about here. But guess what? That digs into the hole identification number, so I can't do that. So I'm going to have to just go right next to it as close as I can, and that's where I'm going to have to run all my cables through. I also am going to have the power pole mounted somewhere in here so it doesn't stick out too far. So there's a lot of things I have to consider that are happening here all at one time. I have to consider the turn radius of the motor. There's just a ton of things that you have to think through before you do this. Now, could I have just slapped the motor on that transom and called it good? Yes, but I just wanted to do something better. I wanted to free up some space back here, which now this takes the motor from sticking out all the way into here to being back here. It frees up some space back here. We're actually going to build not a seating area, but a storage area in here. We're going to make that out of starboard. So we got a lot of things to do still. There's a long ways to go on this little boat, but we took our cleaner the other day, our gel rust remover, and look how nice that deck turned out from being all brown and rusty. So we're pretty happy with the progress so far. We'll just keep you posted and doing some more.